Hi, I'm Sarah Subiata Bennett, and today's episode of Let's Talk Local is one you won't want to miss. You've heard my husband Monty Bennett on here before, but never like this. This time, he's joined by none other than social media star Alex Stein. And when you put these two together, the conversation is pure magic. We cover everything from Alex's viral Dr. Fauci, give me that ouchie video to the supernatural, and even whether the Dallas Cowboys finally winning another Super Bowl could fix half of the world's problems. This episode truly has it all. Stick around for the full ride, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so this is new territory for me. I'm sitting here with two provocateurs, essentially.
Well, Monty's not as, he's provocative.
Oh,
but
you have no idea.
No, trust me, I know. Monty Bennett is a legend. I'm just saying he doesn't wear the tuck-friendly bathing suit to city council meetings. So
this is true.
I think Monty, he is a little provocateur behind the scenes. He's not as a public provocateur as I am, I don't think. But
yes, but
I'm happy to agree with that.
Yeah, trust me, you should. You don't want to be like me, Monty. I say this all the time, Sarah. I am not a role model. Like I'm not somebody to. Maybe you might want to be bold like me or unapologetic like me, but really, I'm like Charles Barkley. I'm not a role model. I do a lot of weird stuff that put myself in danger.
What's
and other
wrong
people
with
in danger.
Charles Barkley?
No, I'm saying he would always say, I love Charles Barkley. I'm a huge Charles Barkley fan, but he would always say that. He would say, I'm not a role model. Like when he'd get thrown out of he got arrested for throwing a guy through a plate glass window and got a bunch of kickback for it. He said, listen, I'm Charles Barkley. I'm not a role model. Like, I'm a gambler. I'm an Hall of Fame basketball player.
I see. Yeah.
So that's kind of like me. I'm not a Hall of Fame basketball player, but you don't want to emulate me because my path to where I'm at right now is a bumpy road, and I hope people have a smoother path to success than my path.
question for both of you. What in your lives has given you the fortitude and perhaps just not even the fortitude in conjunction with flat out guts to not care, no shame in many of these.
Well, I don't know what Monty's going to say, but the reason why I act the way that I act, and I was acting this way a little bit before, but I was, obviously very anti-lockdowns. And I don't know if you know this, Monty, but a lot of people do. My mom got COVID, went to the hospital. She's breathing. She's fine. They say, oh, we want to intubate her. And my mom's like, we don't want to be intubated. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be intubated. Mm-hmm. So then the next day they make us sign a do not resuscitate, DNR. My mom and I are like, what? This is the second day in there. Then the third day she gets progressively worse. I find out, and we said this from the beginning, do not give her remdesivir. Do not give her remdesivir. Gave her remdesivir. She died 7 days later in my arm. And
I'm so sorry. I didn't know
it was
that.
so bad. But what I think about every time when I go to a meeting or I go somewhere where I don't, there's a lot of things that I do that I don't want to do. If I would like to just vacation all day long, travel if I really could just do what I want. But I do a lot of stuff that I don't want to do. And I go back and I think about how hard it was to walk in there and, just be in that, the hospital room, and everything else seems easy. So for me, it was a really bad thing that motivated me. And it realized how finite life is. My mom was 59, and
she was young.
It motivated me to hey, look, the time, the clock is ticking. I don't have that much time left, so I need to go out there and be more bold. And it's made me a lot less fearless. So a bad thing, you got to turn into a good thing.
Of course.
Terrible thing.
As far as me, I think you're just giving me too much credit. It's not something that I wake up and say, oh, I have these guts or not guts. It's just waking up and seeing some things that need to be done, some people that need to be helped, some matters that need some attention, then moving forward. And, along the way, there's always persons that don't like it for one reason or the other. What's so interesting is that it's so funny when I come across people that, hadn't been my fan and some of the things I've tried to do in the city. Every fact they've got is wrong about things I've said or done or whatever. And that tells you a couple things. One, just how easily all of us can be manipulated by something we hear or said, right? Mm-hmm. We take something that someone says as true all the time, even though many times it's not true. And many times they don't even know it's not true, right? They're just repeating something. And the fact that there's probably just some people in there that, for their own reasons, don't want things to change. And you've got to be careful about that. You look at our homelessness problem, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
But sometimes you look at what's going on and you scratch your head and you say, is everyone that's involved in helping this problem trying to solve the problem, or are some people, hopefully a very small minority, making sure the problem's not solved so that they can still get grants and still stay employed and still doing what they're doing? Because in some cases, the inability to solve the problem is so high that you've got to think something else is going on.
Well, I have to call you out, Monty. You know you're being naive. You know how bad this homelessness industrial complex is and how they benefit from being freaking homeless. And they do these studies where they give them a free home and they don't even want to live in the apartment. So there's a whole business behind this that people don't talk about. So I appreciate you bringing it up, but this is like the homeless problem we could fix, but it's a mental health issue because you can even give them all the resources. You give them a free apartment in Seattle, they give them a free tiny home, and they don't even want to sleep in the tiny home. They want to sleep on the street. So it's like we can pour billions of dollars into homelessness. It's not gonna fix the problem. It's just gonna make the people that work in what I call the homeless industrial complex. And it sounds crazy, but it's not as crazy as it, just like Monty just said, like there are people that benefit from people being homeless through, government organizations, through, city funding. So there's a business behind people being homeless and keeping people homeless. There's
that, and there's an ideology. It's kind of like when you see the mayor of Chicago say, you know what, these grocery prices are too high. We're going to go open up a city-owned grocery store. Mm-hmm. Well, look, everybody in this room, we know that's a disaster before it happens. We know what happens, and it's simple. It's because of how human beings are, and because how they operate, that will never, ever be a success, ever. Yet, there's a lot of people that think that could somehow work, and therefore pursue it. And will pursue it, and it'll fail over and over and over and over and over again, and never learn, and keep wanting to take other people's money at the working end of a gun and take it from them, and then go pursue these strategies that have never worked, but somehow think that they're going to work. And that is a problem when people are so locked into a way of believing things and aren't willing to say, okay, this didn't work. Yeah. Let's try something else.
Back to the homelessness bit. I don't think that everyone in the industrial homeless complex.
There's a lot of industrial complex, pharmaceutical industrial. Anything can have an industrial complex, but
I've interacted with so many of the people in that industry. Some people are genuine.
Oh, of course.
In their
I'd say
care.
Majority of them.
Sure. I don't know. I can't speak to people's intent. But back to your point.
We should run a poll.
Are
you genuine?
Yeah. Are you genuine? Do you really?
But I think, to your point, what they're doing isn't working. To your point, it's not working. There's some self-serving nature, right, to all humanity, unfortunately. But I don't know. I don't know if people are willing to get really honest about it, but is there anything in particular that you both believe would be able to critically change the trajectory of the homelessness landscape?
Well, yes. First, I think there's got to be a recognition. And the recognition is what Alex said a couple minutes ago, is many people want to be on the streets. They want to be on the streets. And most of the thoughts don't revolve around it. Like everyone wants to be off the street, and that's just not true. If you've ever been to a college dorm where boys live, you can see how we all can live like animals. Yeah. And men can live. Look,
isn't that true?
How many women do you see on the streets? You hardly see any women. No, why? Is there more discrimination against men in housing than there is against women? I mean, no. This whole construct of the reason around homelessness is false. The reason is because women have reasons not to be on the street. First, they're just not as disgusting as men. Men can be animals, but also women can be harmed on streets. They have reasons not to be on the streets, right? They can have things stolen from them. They can be abused. Men, much less so. So there's a lot more men on the streets. When you see the people on the streets, you see mainly white men and black men. Well, where are the Hispanics? Where are the Indians?
You don't really see a lot of Indian homeless guys. You don't see a lot of Hispanic. That's true. Okay. You really don't. And a lot of them are vets.
It's true.
Cultural reasons. There's cultural reasons as part of it. So you have to look at each one of these reasons and say, okay, why is it culturally okay acceptable in this people group and not in this people group? And then start to address that. Why are there men and not women? And start to address that. And so you have to kind of break it down in kind of this just big general blanket of, well, everyone's a victim, and these people are all victims, and that's it. I can tell you a guy that's doing a lot here in town, and he probably didn't even want me to mention his name so that he's associated with me, but he's a great guy. His name's Rob Walters. I think you're going to try to get him here. And he works for one of the preeminent law firms in the world here in town, and he is working hard to bring players together. They've launched a program here over the past couple of months that has really improved homelessness, downtown at least. It still has a good bit to go, but it has made some great progress. And the question is well, why wasn't the city doing this on their own? Right? Why does someone outside have to get involved and do all this? And praise God in heaven that he is. And I hope that his efforts continue to make more and more inroads into the problem. But these are not like Elon Musk trying to fly to Mars, all right? This is not trying to split the atom. These problems are very addressable, but people won't spend the political capital to go solve them for a variety of reasons. And that's the shame. That's unfortunate because people suffer in the meantime. But I have a question for our guest. May I ask one question?
Sure.
When you sit and you decide to be really funny about something, if that makes sense, right? I don't have the gift of humor that you've got. And you're going to go down and you're going to testify at this hearing right down in Austin.
Oh, my gosh.
And you take out your pen and you're about to write down what you're going to do. How does it start? Where does it come from?
Absolutely.
How does the thread start?
That's a great lead-in because I want to tell you, so you're bringing up how I recently went to a Texas State hearing and I talked and I made some jokes about how transgenders would be great in the military because, since they have a high suicide rate, we could use them as suicide bombers. It was a joke, but it went viral because obviously conservatives were laughing about it. But then the transgender community got in, like, this is what they think of us. They want us to suicide bomb them. Obviously, I don't want anybody to commit suicide, but that's why that video blew up because it hit a nerve. But to your question, the process. So that video went super viral, and then a marijuana lobbyist called me, and I actually disagree. I do want them to ban this synthetic marijuana. I think it's really dangerous. I hope Abbott bans it because I think that's worse than the regular marijuana. The synthetic stuff is even worse, believe it or not.
I am a huge lover of the hemp drinks.
Well, you see, I don't like that. I've tried that Delta 8 and stuff. It makes
it's not Delta 8.
Oh, it's not Delta 8.
The ones that I have, no.
Okay, well, the ones you get at a dispensary, that I have no doubt that is actually safer than a lot of the synthetic stuff that you get like at a gas station.
Yes.
But so this lobbyist firm hit me up and they're like, Alex, give us some ideas. We want to pay you. And I'm like, well, how much do you guys pay? They're like, well, we pay our lobbyists $10,000 to $50,000. I was like, well, maybe I'm interested, okay? I'm kind of interested now. So then I start, brainstorming my ideas. So with the marijuana state hearing, it just got passed in the House, and now they're going to have a Senate hearing for that potentially this week. And they're like, Alex, we want you to come up with an idea. So my idea for this one is I have a Hispanic comedian friend because I can't do this. I don't think I might say something, but I'm really more interested in his speech. So I have a Hispanic guy. He's a comedian, local guy in Dallas, and he's tatted up. He's from El Salvador. He's a young kid. He's like 21. Nice guy. But I'm going to have him go to the meeting, and I'm going to have him say that I work for the cartel and that I'm so grateful that you guys are banning this hemp because now my business is going to go through the roof. The more you guys ban stuff, the more money I make. And I can already tell you that video is going to blow up, especially from him. If I tried to do it dressed in a Mexican sombrero or something, they would just laugh me. It wouldn't work. But a real Hispanic guy.
I don't know. That'd be funny too.
It would be funny. It would. But
sombrero.
I want see. But Monty, I've done this enough where the way it hits the best when you go to a public meeting or a government meeting, whatever it is, people have to believe it. If they automatically you're in a banana costume or something like, well, this guy's joking.
Yep.
Already people might laugh, but if they believe it, the joke works a lot better if they actually think you're being earnest.
So at first, a while they're like, wait a minute. Is this happening? Is this
real? That's the way you hook her in. I always say you got to make them think it's real.
That's why it went viral.
Yes.
I mean, that entire comment because
they said, look, Alex Stein, he's a serious person.
Yeah. He's sick. He's demented.
The trans people said it was serious. They're like, they're calling for our assassination.
Yes.
Because they took that threat serious. It blew up. And obviously, I wasn't being serious. I don't want anybody to commit suicide. But they took that as gospel, and it blew up.
What is your legacy that you're wanting to leave? Because I see so much truth in what you're doing, behind the humor, I mean, there's a lot of power behind what you're doing.
But the simple thing I want is no amount of information can convince an idiot. And I learned that kind of through COVID and stuff. So I don't even really want to convince people of my opinion. And I'm not just saying this to overgeneralize. I just want people to start asking questions. Like people aren't asking questions. And that's when I started asking. So my motivation is I want more people to start asking these questions of why isn't this working? Why is this happening? And I think that is kind of how we would fully evolve as a society, is if we can actually get people interested in finding the truth of what's really going on, because there's just so many lies, there's so much government corruption, and maybe our government's not as corrupt as some other ones, but there's still corruption in our government. And I want people to just ask, why is this happening? Because once they get that interest and they want to do their own research and they kind of want to look into making society better, that's my goal at the end of the day. Just ask what and why everything is going the way it is.
I want to play this. And it's from the Jewish Journal. And it's AI that is reading your kind of whenever you were in Scrubs at the
that was the first one that ever blew up. And one thing I want to say earlier, so Monty, when you were talking about my process, when I first spoke at these meetings, it was during COVID, and I spoke serious. Like, I said some sarcastic stuff, but I was dead serious. They shut down the bathrooms. They shut. I live by Bachman Lake.
You run.
Yeah, and I was like, they shut down the bathroom at Bachman Lake. This is an open air bathroom. Like, how is this?
The colostomy bag.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's an 80-year-old guy, Rudy, who would walk all the time, and I'd see him. I became Facebook friends with him, and he was 80, and he walks. I was like, man, this guy has so much energy for an 80-year-old. But he had a colostomy bag, and I stopped seeing him. I messaged him on Facebook. I'm like, Rudy, I never see you at Bachman Lake. Never see you in the morning anymore. Are you okay? Because I was kind of worried he died.
Of course,
I'm not even trying to be, sad. Or I was like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, but I have the colostomy bag. I can't use the bathroom there, so I don't walk at Bachman. I just walk on the treadmill at my house. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like, this is
how is a treadmill in his house?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember he just said he walked at his house.
Or maybe he got one, right?
Yeah, I think he might have got one. He said he got a treadmill. And I'm like, that really kind of made me mad, because I'm like, 80-year-old guy doesn't even want to walk. How is this better for our health, telling us not to exercise? And so I spoke serious, and they didn't even listen. They could care less. They were obviously going to shut everything down because they were worried. And it didn't have any effect. It just didn't hit. And then before the one you're about to play the transcript from, I had a video where when the heartbeat bill passed, and I'm really anti-abortion. I understand why somebody might want to have one. They don't have the money, but I'm really, I do believe that, you're murdering a baby. I don't know how else to describe it. But they had the heartbeat bill. It just got passed. And I went up there and I said, because everybody was mad about this heartbeat bill, and I said, I'm so mad. I was talking to the Dallas City Council that you guys are, making abortion so hard. I love abortion. It's the safest form of contraception.
Yeah. I heard you.
And I was like, I'm about to go on a trip to Cancun. I got multiple baby mamas. I said all this inflammatory things, all this crazy stuff. And Charlie Kirk shared it. And that was one of the first videos that got 1 million views. I was like, oh, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do. Is I need to kind of put a mirror up to the most egregious and craziest things of our society. And that is how we bring attention to it. So it shows the absurdity of it. So that motivated me, and then I kind of started that process. And then I think it was like less than a month later, I went there in Scrubs, and that's when the height of COVID, and they were doing all of the vaccine, get vaccinated in Fair Park, get vaccinated here. So I went up there and I sang this song.
How did you come up with this?
I mean, I just kind of freestyled it.
This was a freestyle.
A lot of it was,
How did you come up with my favorite famous line is, Dr. Fauci gave me that ouchie.
I thought of that before. I had that before.
I still remember that.
Yeah, Dr. Fauci
I
gave
didn't
that ouchie.
ever think of trying to get something to rhyme with Fauci.
That was the one thing that I wanted to have played.
Oh my God!
It's fine. Well. It's okay. But it was hilarious because it was so effective.
And you had your head back, because I remember, and you're dropping something on your face.
Yeah, I had to
sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer
on your face.
Oh my God!
But you know what? You're touching on a phenomenon here that is so amazing. How fast so many people in our country went into a maniacal, crazed mode regarding these vaccines and these kinds of things.
It's true.
And look, I think we can all understand people saying, hey, look, these vaccines work, even believing that they work or whatever. But to go to the point where they were willing to commit atrocities on people that didn't believe with them on that.
That's right.
How fast that happened. You know what? I always wondered, how on earth could Nazi Germany ever happen, right? How could people believe these things that are so terrible,
disgusting,
and outrageous, and then commit these atrocities because of these absurdities that they believed? And then I saw COVID, and you see how fast people can be told something and believe something, and it's just a huge network of media, many of which I believe are paid by elements of our government in order to push all kinds of propaganda. Well, it's come out now, right? That's happened a lot, and I'm sure it's still even happening. And you guys heard of this Project Mockingbird, I'm sure, where the CIA
has it
at this point.
I think everyone has.
Every media wing,
Yeah, and they and now I see some articles, Project Mockingbird may not have gone away. Oh, well, no kidding.
Duh.
You mean they got caught and they said, you know what, we just better stop this. Of course they don't stop this action.
Well, they even have a government liaison for movies. Like if, they want to use a real tank, a military tank, there's it's like Office of Governmental Military Liaison, basically
Ministry of Truth.
But there's a liaison where you can actually use real military equipment. And in the movie True Lies, there's I forget, it wasn't James, maybe it was James Cameron, I forget the director, but the director said he wanted to make the terrorists Asian for some reason, or Chinese, but he wanted to use real military tanks, so he gives them the script, and they said, oh, well, let's use the tanks. We want to make one change. We'd like the terrorists to be Muslim fundamentalist terrorists. He said, okay, no problem, if you're going to let me do this. So the government, that's just a clear example that's out in the open of how they can change stuff. And then this is True Lies, and then shortly thereafter, the war on terror. So I'm just saying that
it makes you think.
It makes you think. It makes you think. It's like, they want to paint a picture of something before it happens.
And you think, what would people do if they had unlimited amount of money and absolute power? What might they do? Well, of course, that's what they have. And human beings are not their best under those circumstances.
No, in the pandemic, how you're saying about the pandemic, I thought that was so weird. How many people didn't want the pandemic to end? That just liked it, because I was watching this Instagram video, and it was about like financial literacy, and they did like a sociological study where they gave 200 people $10,000. And over 1 year they tracked it, and it was like 86% of the people spent it all. It was like I think it was
a high percentage.
Yeah, it was 10% had that or a little bit more, like within $500 either way, and then 4% turned it from anything from $10,000 to $1 million. So there's a very few people, that 4% of the people that kind of reminded me of the people that are speaking out against COVID. You know what I mean? There's only a few people that are willing to kind of be bold and take chances. And during COVID, we learned that a lot of people just want to follow whatever the government tells them. I hate to describe you guys like this, but they wanted to be sheep. And I just feel like that was a good litmus test for people to see if they really kind of knew what was going on. And a lot of people failed.
Will give their agency, they'll give their authority to someone else, and essentially say, you government in this case, and it's not always just the government, but you government, you get to decide whether I walk outside or stay inside or do this or do that.
Whether I travel. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was a crazy, crazy time.
And now looking forward, because we have a lot of different, I think, politically divisive elements that are very, very active today. What are some of the aspects that you're working in preventing or changing, both of you?
Well, for me, I notice I'm kind of worried. After Trump, I'm a little worried about the kind of future of the country. I mean, everybody's like J.D. Vance, and now Steve Bannon says he's going to run. Now Gavin Newsom's going to run. Know. So
yep.
I don't know. I think Gavin Newsom would be better than Kamala Harris. Like, I think he'll get more votes than her. But for me, I think that they say the horseshoe theory is like if you're too far right or too far left, you kind of end up meeting. And I guess I would just kind of encourage people to be a little more moderate. Not that we shouldn't be more conservative, but I guess just sometimes conservatives, we can be a little, we can be, lack of a better word, we can be to people on the left and vice versa. And I think that we need
It's always a danger.
Yeah, I think we need to kind of just...
To people dunk, right? They want to, spike the ball.
And both sides do it. So I guess just kind of, for me, it's just... Let's just, what is it? Why can't we all be friends? And it sounds so cliche.
It's why can't we all get along?
Yeah, why can't we all get along?
You're too young to hear it. To remember
whatever it is. I'm just saying, why is it so hard? We really don't hate each other. Like, they say racism is a real problem, but I don't think it's as bad a problem. When you go to the grocery store, nobody's checking out.
Of course it is.
No, but I'm saying it exists. Like, it's just how do we cohesively come together as a society? So I would encourage people to be a little less judgmental. Everybody's so judgy in this society.
Yeah, we need to take a deep breath, and relax a little bit, I think is what we need to do.
Do you think we need to be less judgy, Monty?
I think that's always helpful. I don't hear of any situation where things got better because one party got more judgmental than the others. An interesting dynamic happened that I did not anticipate, and that is that as Trump has done things that are farther right? And a lot of things, a lot of people on the right have wanted, right? Bring order to Washington, D.C. It's an embarrassment to go there and to try to do anything. How is the city of the greatest country on earth, you can't even walk down the street? Yeah. And, here he rolls this out. And he's been doing things like that since he became president here in this second term especially. But what it has done is it has taken one segment of the Democratic Party to such levels of crazy. They cannot stand it. They're just so, the smoke's coming out of their ears. They're just so hostile that while it has the effect many times of the boomerang, you also have a situation where I believe what's happened in the Democratic Party is some splits happening where a good segment of the Democratic Party is saying, look, I'm more for butter than guns. And conservatives are typically more about guns than butter, and that's a fair debate to have. But wait a minute, we're going to have lawlessness in our streets where people are killed all the time, even though it affects blacks, 10 to 1 more than whites. We're going to pretend that that's not important. But then if a white person kills a black, then that's the worst thing that happens on the planet. But blacks can kill blacks. I mean, it's just all this absurdity that happens. And so the negative reaction to it by this core part of the Democratic Party, I say Democratic Party, those on the far left, they may be part of the Democrats Party or not, is such a reaction and such an overreaction that I think it's pushing away. You even look at the approval in the Democratic Party now of their party leaders, and those big negatives are coming from the people on the far, far, far left because they're furious that their leaders aren't creating counter-revolutions, right? I mean, they can't. The president's the president. He's got certain powers, and he exercises those powers. And some on the left are so upset with it, and they want their leaders to lead a physical, violent revolution. And, of course, that's not going to happen, or if it does, it won't happen for very long. And so it's creating a dynamic where you're kind of having a reverse effect on the reverse effect almost. So I'm interested to see how that all plays out.
Well, and to your point, though, I love Donald Trump. I love what he's doing. January 6th really helped out. But, this Epstein stuff was a very bad, public relations nightmare. And to your point, though, now you see the left. Now all of a sudden they care about Jeffrey Epstein. Even though Joe Biden was in office for 4 years, they don't even mention Jeffrey Epstein. They don't mention it. So it just shows you how they can, latch on to one thing and, attack it. And so obviously, I want more transparency. It's probably classified where even the president can't declassify something. And, I know that's not going to make people happy. It doesn't make me happy. But to your point, you see that with now all of a sudden the people on the left calling for Epstein, transparency when they were in power for the last 4 years, they didn't say a peep about it.
What if this is supposed to happen? What if this divisiveness and this
it is
pull of people
social engineers
is supposed to happen? Like literally, like
according to God's plan.
According to according
I don't know
to some
God's
plan,
but I know the social engineers. They want us fighting. They want blacks versus white, women versus men.
They want it.
They want it. Once we have conflict, then we can't actually solve the problems.
That's exactly right.
So that is all done very strategically to make us fight one another. So that's kind of to my point. It's like we need to stop fighting so much. We don't get anywhere by fighting. We need to all get along.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I know that you especially use words that are provocative.
Inflammatory
and
sometimes.
very
even,
inflammatory.
So, yeah. Well, I grew up, and this is my thing. It's so sad because this is you'll kind of learn a lot about my personality. But I used to, when I was a kid, I used to love Howard Stern. I used to love the E! Show. Now I hate Howard Stern, but I was the biggest.
It's funny.
I was the biggest Howard Stern fan.
What do you make of that though? That Howard Stern's gone, and all these others on the left, especially, seem to be gone. It's not like overnight everyone became a conservative, right?
Yeah.
In political change. What do you make of that? And then we see some of these late night TV shows.
I used to like Howard Stern
Yeah,
too.
I love Howard Stern.
Yeah,
I'm
great.
a diehard Howard Stern. I've been listening
he's
since
funny.
he was on the E! Show,
Yeah.
and he is funny. But right when 2016, when Trump started to run for president, this is what made me so mad because I was a big Howard Stern fan. Howard would have Donald Trump on all the time.
He would.
And he would call
Thank
him
you.
he would call him Donald so much. He'd say, Mr. Trump, that he would kiss his. I mean, more than I'm kissing Monty, more than I'm kissing. I'm saying, he had knee pads on, and then all of a sudden he runs for president, and then he's the worst guy in the world. And I saw it with my own eyes. I saw those interviews, and they were legendary interviews. One of them went viral back in the day because Donald Trump said that Miss America had gained weight and she ate her way out of her title, and that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And he was just stating a fact that she won the thing and then gained 40 pounds. But they were laughing about it. It was a very funny thing. Donald was very self-deprecating, even in those interviews. He was, very open and honest, and you could tell that they had like a, rapport. It was, and then all of a sudden he's interviewing in 2016. He's having Hillary Clinton on. He's not asking Hillary Clinton about anything with Epstein, not asking her any hardball questions about her husband, about Monica. For 20 years he's been talking about Monica Lewinsky. Then he finally gets, Hillary Clinton in there and doesn't even bring up Monica Lewinsky. So that's when I was like, Howard has changed. So I don't know what made him make that change to where he used to be very inflammatory and that worked for him. And so I've kind of, modeled myself a little bit after that. A little shock jockery. I know that's a little cringe, but I do think it's effective. It was effective for him. But once he lost that edge, he lost his popularity.
So you think that was it? Do you think it was because he caught TDS and...
He definitely caught TDS, but like I said, these interviews, I can send you the clips. Everybody can go watch them. They're all on YouTube. I mean, they sounded like they were best freaking friends.
I'm sure they were, at least, as much as
they could be
friends, right? I don't know if they ran in the same circles and everything, and they certainly helped each other and gained, popularity and on and on. But
I think there's something to be said for the fact that he probably was inauthentic. He was probably, at one point, authentic in that rapport with Trump. And then once the political divide wall kind of came down, perhaps that brainwashing of Trump derangement syndrome or whatever happened and allowed his business to kind of fail. I don't know.
But Monty, how could a guy with $500 million vote for more taxes? How could a guy? I just don't understand how a guy as successful as Howard Stern. And Howard Stern does every kind of gimmick to try to pay less. I'm just his house is based in Florida. He does every kind of gimmick. So it's funny he is now a left-wing champion for all these causes, for basically socialism, when he's the most capitalistic
it's rampant
radio
in Highland
announcer
Park.
ever.
You know that?
Yeah,
you grew up there.
You see that a lot in other places, right? It's the virtue signaling, right? People
Yes.
love to virtue signal.
That's what everybody does.
And say that they're trying to do all this help and get the claps, and then nothing happens. And,
But nobody wants to see a guy virtue signal that used to throw baloney on strippers' butts. You know
It's
what I mean?
true.
That's not his job to virtue signal. It's somebody else. Let the politicians virtue signal. You be Howard Stern and be a libertarian, because that's what he used to say. He used to say he was a libertarian.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that changed. He's not
Monty
libertarian.
said he was a libertarian, I think, in order for me to marry him.
Well, I think Monty has a lot of libertarian viewpoints. I do too.
Libertarian parts of conservatism. Yeah, I've got certain
For sure,
parts.
of course.
I just want less government. When the federal government gets
Same.
involved, the local government, it
Absolutely.
just screws everything up. It screws business, the more
Absolutely.
regulation. Even, I was in the car business before, I worked as a producer and we
Oh
go
my
on
gosh,
hiatus.
were you a used car
Oh,
salesman?
I'm the
His
biggest.
father was.
Yeah, my
His
dad.
father,
my
that's
dad's
what
a bail
he said.
bondsman.
I
Monty.
bet you were good.
Oh, I could sell I could sell, ice
bet
to
you
an
were good.
Eskimo. But I was really in the wholesale business, so I'd like to buy people's cars. I would fix them up, sell them at the auction or, I'd retail them. But even in the car business, they made it so hard. Of course, illegal immigrants could buy cars. They made it easy for them, but they just the paperwork and the stuff that I had to do as a dealer, they made it just so difficult. And again, I saw it progressive in the 8 years that I was selling cars. It got progressively worse. I'm like, gosh, it
becomes more difficult to operate a business
Yes.
every day and to live your life. There's
Every
just
day it
more
got
and more
harder.
regulations. Government's is bigger than it ever is. It always grows bigger. And we are going to go the direction of just about every empire ever, where we are going to collapse under our own weight.
Why do you say these things?
Well, because every
maybe
empire...
we won't. I know, but maybe we won't.
I don't know. I don't think
Maybe
saying
we
it makes it
won't.
more likely to happen.
Yeah, maybe it encourages people to not, but it's almost inevitable because every society, the Roman Empire.
Oh, we know.
fell.
We all know history, I think, pretty well.
That's because people won't get on their knees and pray to God to be better people, to worship God for who he is, and to humble themselves and to try to do right for other people in a selfless way, myself included. Not enough. And as a society, we won't do it enough. And we become more entitled. Boy, I mean, the entitlement we have. We live in the richest country in the richest times in the history of the world, right? And we are owed this. We deserve that. And on. And then we also build our own government bigger, and give them more and more power for one reason or another. And it's just a formula for disaster. It's been a terrible formula for thousands of years, and it's the same terrible formula. So it's possible that it's not. I mean, there's this whole effort of convention of states you've probably heard about where the states can call a convention, and in that convention can strip power away from the federal government. I think that may be our only hope, all through divine intervention, of course, and people recommitting their lives to God and to worshiping God, because it's very bad if we don't. And you see that over and over and over again. I mean, you never see a country where they say, what happened? Well, they really devoted themselves to God, so everything fell apart, right? You never hear that story. That never happens. So that's what we need to do. We get these crazy ideas. We get this secularism, and we come up with these absurdities, right? I mean, the whole Soviet Union and these absurdities that they came up with, that's for the people and to help everybody, whether they really believed it or not, were horrible, right? Every evil deed in the history of the world has come on the backs of, quote, the greater good. Oh, well, this is going to be for the greater good. Let's go kill all these people. It's just horrible. Respect people, love people, sacrifice yourself for other people. That is what makes a society great, and that's what God asks us to do. So let's do that. So it won't happen if we do that. So let's hold out hope.
Are you emotional?
Yeah, we're getting
He
emotional.
is.
I love it. I love
he's
that.
over there getting like...
Hey, I'm getting emotional. Yeah,
I get passionate about these things. I mean, it's a straightforward formula, but boy, do we resist.
And to everything you said, very eloquently, America is still the greatest country on earth, and it's still the only country that, a Mexican guy can come over here and paint houses and become a roofer and become, successful. And the one thing, and the reason why I don't think people are successful here in America is because they're not trying. Because if you actually put in the effort, if you actually, go out there and grind, in America, it's almost impossible to not be successful if you put in the work. And that's why our country is the greatest country on earth. And
we've got lots of problems, but you're right. We can choose to look at the positive or look at the negative. And in many regards, there's some things about this country that are the best of any country in the history of the world, and that should be celebrated, not denigrated, right? Yeah. Not pushed against. No, it's not perfect in this. No, it's not perfect in racism or immigration, these kinds of things. But boy, do people have a chance here more so than any other place in any other country in the history of the world.
That's why they all want to be here.
My gosh, that's right. It's my life story. I mean, my family comes from nothing. And the only reason we made successes of ourselves independently is because of our grit and work ethic. And literally, it's that.
Yeah. In other countries, that won't get you anywhere.
That's right.
Here,
but
that
here
gets
it
you
will.
places.
Yeah, that's why an Asian immigrant can come here and be incredibly successful, and that's why they're incredibly successful. So,
of course,
and that's why, because they have a good culture around it, and they're self-starters. So anybody can come to this country and be successful if you're willing to work hard.
And one last thing that I kind of want to leave with, because I saw Monty getting emotional over there. We Monty and I are part of a kind of a network of people, of believers who, are very faith abiding. And I want to think that we both are at this point in our lives. But these people can see into the supernatural, one in particular, like can see angels, demons, like we see each other here. This person is really profound.
You know, there's frequencies that we can't hear with our ear that a dog can hear. There's
and
stuff
here's
we
the
can't
thing.
see with our eyes that animals can see. So that means there's stuff around us right now that we can't see and
Well,
hear.
and this person can.
Yeah.
And they have spoken about the darkness of force of spirits, demons.
The devil's
huge.
real.
I mean, hovering over the city of Dallas. And I mean, it's just insane not to believe the way we do now, because we have these people in our lives that are like, and the healing that we've both experienced from all of this kind of
Revelation.
yeah, revelation and deliverance. I mean, it is nothing short of a miracle how our lives have been transformed, and the radical aspects of life that people aren't willing to accept when it's right among us at all times.
No,
You hit it right. Evil is real.
It's
Evil
real.
is real.
It's real.
And a big problem is that many
Yes.
people won't think that it exists.
yeah.
And
It's real.
That's
Even
real.
this sounds even crazy. We can go that crazy. Like those people in Louisiana, I went to LSU. I didn't practice it, but like people practicing black magic and stuff. That
Oh,
stuff
yes,
is weird.
it's
The
real.
occult, like people
Of
think
course.
we're joking. And then, you know, there's a guy, you know, Jimmy Savile. He was he was knighted by the Queen. He was, you know, Prince Charles's alleged best friend, and he was the host of a show called Top of the Pops. He was a big show in the '60s. And after his death, you know, he was kind of like a Jeffrey Epstein situation. They found out what he was doing, and listen to what he would do. He was a porter at the Royal Children's Hospital, and they would take bodies out of the morgue, and they would take these bodies on boats, and they would do SRA, satanic ritualistic abuse, where they would do occult practices
course.
to give them power.
That's
and these
right.
are the most powerful people in the world.
That's
so I'm
right.
just saying there is something to that. If you sell your soul to the devil, you might be successful, but that's a real contract you sign
That's
with the
right.
devil. And I know people like to think that that's cliche or that's a joke. It's not a joke. I would not mess with it. There's God is real and the devil is real, and I would not mess around. Like people might think, oh, an atheist is going to listen to this and think we're Looney Tunes, but you're the Looney Tunes, because there is a lot of real metaphysical stuff that we can't see and that we can't see around us, but it is around us.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I was in treatment for workaholism and all this stuff for 40 days, and I saw a woman's face distorting. No one else could see it. She was there for suicidal ideations, and I saw her face distorting like the Dementors from Harry Potter sucking her face. I called Monty that night, and I was like, you need to pray for me. You need to send like absolute protection. I know what I saw. This is happening. It's real. Fast forward, the next day, I felt put upon me after I slept with my freaking Bible over my chest that night. And in this low of my life, I know what I saw. I had just a desire to tell this woman, listen, I know that you're suffering from wanting to kill yourself. It's evil within you. I mean, I don't know if you've opened yourself up spiritually to forces that may have, that you are not aware of. And then she tells me, I'm a member of the Satanic Temple.
No.
Swear.
Wow. That's
You cannot make
spooky.
this up.
That's weird.
First
She just said,
Satanist I ever
and
met.
you didn't even know that, and you
know.
could feel the energy.
Didn't
I
know.
believe it.
I saw it.
Well, we're all energetic beings, and they say this is woo-woo, but it's like if you're high vibrational, you're more positive.
For sure.
You're going to be attracted to more, high vibrational people. When you're low vibrational,
Yes.
you're constantly depressed.
Yes.
You're going to be attracted to more low
Yes.
vibrational people. So you can feel people's energies. That's spooky.
It's spooky
crazy.
and it's real, because I'm not someone who can see everything so clearly, but
And there's
it is
to,
real.
to Sarah's point,
It's real.
I don't see into the spiritual realm, but there's a number of people, not just this one people she's talking
But Monty,
about.
you don't feel
A
God.
number of people.
You don't feel
Oh,
God.
I can
Yeah.
feel. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
feel sometimes.
I don't see anything, but I can like feel.
But
God.
I know some people can see,
Yeah.
and they see, and they will describe the same thing that someone else will see that I can't see. And so this whole realm is real, and it exists.
Yeah.
And it's not a small number of people that can see into this realm. But boy, will our society push that off to the side and try to pretend that that doesn't exist.
Well, that's the number one thing they want to push it aside. God,
That's
I'm
right.
just saying that's kind of the root of all this evil.
That's right.
I did not expect this to take this turn. I think I kind of took
Well,
it this
I
way.
get crazy and blue. I am different, but
But here we go.
And I like talking about it. I do believe in the Bible. Like, let's end it. On a real conspiracy. It's like, I love reading all the conspiracies about Nephilim. The giants.
Oh my gosh, that's not a conspiracy.
That's not a conspiracy. I know.
The Nephilim are real.
I know. Crap. I'm saying, duh. We had giants on Earth, and that why don't we see these bones? So there's a lot they're not telling us about our origins.
Genesis chapter 6 talks all about the Nephilim.
David and Goliath. I mean, who's Goliath?
Of course.
That's right.
So
Of course.
Come on. So
And we've been talking in our family. There's a book that didn't make the cut to make
Enoch.
the Bible, and it's the book.
I know all
of
about
Enoch.
the book of Enoch. Yeah, are
And
you
Enoch
kidding? Yeah.
goes big time into the Watchers of the Nephilim and all these kinds of things. So yeah, you're
I'm
right
dialed
about it.
into it. Everybody needs to. I know some of you atheists watching right now are going to say, look at these three. But you guys look into it. I mean, I really encourage you to do your own research on this. And I know we sound a little weird, but everything we're saying is...
Maybe we invite Alex to our
I don't know if it's
to
any
ranch
weird
this
than-
weekend.
Yeah.
I
Why
don't
don't
know
you
if
come
it's-
to our ranch this
I don't
weekend?
know if
Yeah,
it's
I'll
any
come.
more weird than him talking about people with peacups.
I thought it was hilarious, but it's
in the
so
urinals,
true.
right? I mean,
It's
come on.
true.
Well, the point I was trying
It's
to make,
true.
though, Monty, is it's asymmetrical problem because really, if a trans woman, a woman transitioning to a male walked into the men's bathroom, I wouldn't care.
Yeah,
you know?
most
I'm
guys
like,
are like, whatever.
Yeah,
Of course.
But it's women having men in dresses.
Absolutely.
Going out, that's the problem.
Absolutely.
It's a big problem,
Yeah.
and it's a danger for women and for girls.
Yeah.
And to just pretend that it's not is absurd.
And-
And we need to protect those that are society that need protection. Women to a certain extent, and especially children.
Yeah.
This, and I'm just going to end this one really quick story. There was this woman or man who followed my son into the bathroom at Sevy's. And this man, it was something, I guess, vibrational energy, an angel, whatever, God, said, get up. I went over to my son because I saw this man following him into the bathroom, and this odd couple, I'd watched a series of their exchanges all day, and this one person that we were with who has this ability to see. Anyway, I chased my son over to the bathroom. It was a man in there with him, right? Of course.
Yeah.
And I said, Lewis, are you okay? And the man answered, and he said, he's right here. He's just fine. Lewis told me this man had him in the corner. And he's like, Mommy, I don't know what he was going to do to me. He stopped. He stopped the second he heard your voice. So Lewis went in there to use the restroom. I guess they were at the urinal. This man kind of corners him, right? So, and here's the thing. Men are categorically, statistically, the people who cause harm.
Yeah, a woman
And
can't
so
rape
if
a
you
man.
have
I mean,
exactly,
yeah, I mean, let's just be
exactly,
real,
if you
yeah.
have this happening, of course, and so my son just ran out and he was like, that was a God thing that you came because I don't know what he was going to do. He was terrified.
That's weird.
And I
That's
was like, I will
spooky.
kill him. I carry everywhere I go. I had to get the family out of there, get my friend out of there. And my friend or the person that was with us who has these gifts said an evil blob, like a dark blob. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. The evil is out there, yes, but children, women cannot defend themselves against fully grown men on average.
Yeah.
They're the few that can.
I ask a few women out there, if they carry or so. Why would a woman ever walk around? If I walked around in public and there were people that twice my size that constantly wanted to do harm to me or have sexual relations with me against my will, I'd carry every single day. I wouldn't trust these. Maybe you guys got to get in the head of a man and understand how depraved men are, because I would never be out there as a woman without carrying a gun.
Same.
All the time.
Yeah.
Same.
Because
It's evil.
Men are imbued with this aggression that brings about great harm, right? And you can see it in the jails, right? Men aren't discriminated against when it comes to arrests. They commit more crimes.
Well, and Monty, somebody Google this real quick. In June, it was 200 people were arrested for child sex trafficking here in Dallas, and it was not even a national story. It was 200 people. They called it Operation. It's gonna bug me.
You must have read it on the Dallas Express.
Oh yeah, it was yours.
Yeah.
I think I did. And what I'm saying is, so we have hundreds of kids and hundreds of sex traffickers getting caught in Dallas. Like, it is a more prevalent problem than the media, than anybody will tell you. They think, oh, it's only a couple people. You know, it's called some operation. What is it called? What is it? Yeah, the Soteria Shield. So this happened in Dallas, where the Soteria Shield, they arrested 250 sex traffickers and 109 children in just Dallas.
That's right.
So this is a very
such a tragedy.
serious,
You talk about emotional. You get me
FBI,
talking
Dallas,
about
and North
that.
Texas Internet Crimes Against Child Task Force.
Yeah.
More than 70 Texas law enforcement agencies. So,
and that wasn't a huge story. That was, Dallas Express. I'm saying, you didn't see that on NBC News.
that's right.
You didn't see that
okay,
on
well, last
CNN.
about the media.
Well, the left won't make a lot of hay over this. The left, the media outlets that are left won't make a lot of hay typically over sex trafficking stuff. Sex trafficking stuff.
That's
and
true.
It's very concerning to me.
It's weird.
And it's weird.
Yeah, it's
and I don't know
not
what's
on the
going
Dallas Morning News.
And the Coyotes taking the kids across the border.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly. And they won't tell these stories. So Monty and I both started the Dallas Express because there were stories not being told.
Yeah, a lot.
And a lot was misinterpreted and just distorted about
Slanted,
even my own husband. And at that point during COVID, it was a necessity to start an outlet that would actually be truthful. And then just the other day you were, who did you say, MSNBC or
Yeah,
NBC?
MSNBC.
MSNBC
yeah.
sucks.
Well, did you see they changed? Now they're going to MSN. They're changing now to MS Now. They just announced today.
Are you
I
serious?
saw
They're
that this morning.
rebranding.
I did not see
no,
that this
video
morning.
blew up.
Now.
And, yeah, they're rebranding after that. And I don't know if that video had anything to do with it, but isn't that a weird timing?
I think it means they're going to lose even more money.
Yeah, oh yeah. That Rachel Maddow's their only host, and I know her shows can't be that profitable, and she's their number one host. And I'm friends with Tucker. I'm wearing the Tucker hat, and he actually talks nicely about Rachel Maddow. So she is a talented broadcaster, but nobody. Joy Reid's not. Joy
Is that
Reid.
polite to come on my wife's show wearing somebody
I
else's?
think it's
Yeah, I think it
fine.
is. I gotta plug
think
them.
it's
Well,
fine.
Monty, I
should
have
And
to
he's-
admit, I did go to Cotillion at Dallas Country Club, but I'm not.
I don't
have
think
the
you
best
graduated.
man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't graduate.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's
No,
I
bad.
failed. I
I
got a
like
D.
Tucker,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
not
it's
even
like,
that.
it's like coming out here and just like slapping you across the face.
No,
it's not.
Maybe Tucker will share it, and then the podcast will blow up.
It was just a
joke. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
It was
we are in
just
the
a
top
joke.
1%
Well,
in
it's
Texas.
funny you say that. 'Cause
Right,
I work,
Shannon.
Well, Monty, though, you do have a good point because I wear this hat on my show sometimes, and the CEO of Blaze is like, "Why do you wear a Tucker Carlson hat?"
Yeah, shouldn't you have a Blaze hat on?
Yeah, I know.
So,
And he said that. And I go, well, I don't want to wear my, like a band wouldn't wear their own band shirt. Van Halen wouldn't wear a Van Halen shirt. So I'm like, I can't wear my own shirt.
So quickly, what are your plans for expanding your cause and your efforts? Because as I sit with you here, you are a really good person.
Well, I appreciate that.
But it's interesting because I was like, I can't wait to sit with him because I know how edgy he is. And I love edgy people. I am drawn to edgy people. So what are your plans?
Well, for me, in this upcoming semester, I work for the Blaze, but I also work for Turning Point USA, and they're a great, conservative organization. And I have a tour. I'm going to 10 colleges this semester, so I'm going to Rutgers. I'm going to UC San Diego. I'm going to Oklahoma. I'm going to University of Florida. Where else am I don't know. I got to look at my calendar. But on these campuses, I do a lot of debates, and I just started doing those debates. Turning Point just started letting me do the debates last semester, and that stuff is. Everybody has a podcast. I have a podcast. You have a podcast. People like podcasts, but really, sadly, we've kind of devolved as a society where we just want to see people argue. And I hate to admit it. I hate to admit it. That's like what gets the most clicks, and because I'm very aware of what's popular on the internet. And so those videos started to blow up for me last semester. So I'm going to go to these campuses, talk to these college kids, because that's actually like, for me, I feel like I'm actually doing some good in society because I'm making kids ask questions. And now when I was in college, most kids weren't very political, but I noticed on college campuses there are a lot more, they're a lot more political than they were when I was there. So these kids are more involved. They're more willing to debate. They're more willing to have these conversations. And I think debating these issues, no matter the issue, is the best thing we can do for society. So my goal is to, in the next 6 months, you create a lot of good debate content and hopefully, kind of stir up some drama and bring some attention to, social issues that I think need attention.
Great. Great. And Monty, what about you? You have so much happening right now with...
I've got enough I'm doing. I don't need to go do anything else.
Yeah,
I'm in the hotel industry, which still hasn't recovered from COVID, and it's just a challenge.
Oh, what do you think about Vegas? Sorry to cut you off. They say it's 6% down, but then they say it's up. What do you think about that?
It's interesting, isn't it? Well, you definitely have a downturn of international, right?
Yeah, they're huge. 18% down from Canada. But this is the thing: is they say there's a 6% hotel occupancy. It's usually 2%. Is that's that huge of a difference when it goes from 2%?
Oh, yes.
I'm saying I know
relatively small changes. Hotels have a high degree of operating leverage, so a 5% change in revenues can mean everything on the bottom line.
Wow.
And Vegas is getting crushed, and I think it has a lot to do with a lot of things, but a lot of people aren't traveling to the United States because they have this anti-Trumpism and they're not going to come, and we see it with the Canadians and all these other kinds of things. So it's tough, and the whole industry has still not recovered from COVID. It bounced back somewhat, but I think just last year, the revenues in the industry hit the revenues from 2019. But the problem is that the costs are up 50% higher.
See, that's it, yeah.
And and interest rates are up much, much higher. So it is the squeeze, and it's been the squeeze in the industry for some time.
Yeah, I'm just surprised because, they even say the gambling numbers are about the same, but that 4% drop, and they say that 18% less Canadians is killing the industry in Vegas right now. It's sad. I mean,
it is. It's really sad.
And I love a city like Vegas. I know it's Sin City or whatever, but it is still. It's like a New York.
It's a great city, of course.
It's a classic American city.
It is. The shows, everything.
And that's what makes me mad. The international travelers don't want to come there. That is like a theme park city. I mean, so you get to you get to experience. You have the fine dining to McDonald's and everything in between. So it's just I think we need Vegas and New York to come back, hopefully, but I don't know if they will.
Or just make Dallas the next
make
Vegas
Dallas
/ New York.
What do you think about that? Now they're trying to do the gambling. I don't know. What do you think, Monty? The legal gambling. That's not a.
You're hijacking this podcast, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I just
both of them. Both of them are trying to conduct the podcast. It's fine.
But Monty
has
so much knowledge.
They turned off the cameras a half hour ago, so don't
He's
worry about that. There you go. I do have the libertarianism side and want to just let things be. But you got to look at, when gambling comes into a city, how has that helped things, right? How has things turned out to be so much better because it's there when it wasn't there to begin with? And there's always these promises, right, of, we're going to take all this money and we're going to go use it for the schools, for the children, right? We're going to use it for the children. Everything's for the children, right?
Yeah,
we're going to go do these terrible things, but it's for the children. And gambling, they're going to help, but no one says, I'm going to go to Vegas, move there because the schools are fantastic around there.
That's true.
So
it is true.
Yeah, I'm moving to Vegas for the schools.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And
so when I look at it, I think, what good is going to happen? Yes, people will be more entertained, as if we need more of that. But okay, they're going to be more entertained. But how is it going to solve and help address some of our problems? And I just don't see it, right? I just don't see it. So everything around here seems fine, right? And I don't walk outside my house saying, gosh, I wish I could go play the slots. And I can't, right? And
people can drive up to the
Oklahoma or whatever. I think that is better to keep it like that.
It's there. And again, some people want it and like it, and that's fine. And talk about the economic activity that it brings, but it's not like Dallas-Fort Worth can handle the people moving here already, right?
Yeah.
We're having crazy growth. If we were Detroit, okay, let's talk about it. But so I just don't see the overall need for it. How is our society better because of it? And I just don't see it. So that's kind of where I am.
And this is coming from a guy. I like to play poker. I like to gamble a little bit. One of my best friends is a guy, Tim Poole. We love to sit and we'll play poker all night. I'm not a huge gambler. It's kind of more of a social thing. But just to what Monty said, he's outside of D.C., so we'll go play poker in Charlestown, West Virginia. In that city, they don't have anything else going on. They need a casino.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But Dallas, I see the MGM, though. We go sometimes to the one in D.C., and you just see, and it's right there by D.C., a lot of broken dreams. And that's in a major metropolitan city. So I can see if you're in a small town, maybe they can have a casino. They don't have anything going on. But in Dallas, D.C., I think it's gonna be a nightmare for most people that walk in there and lose everything they got.
It sure seems that way.
Yeah,
we don't need more bad habits to develop.
No.
I certainly don't need any more.
No,
neither of us do. But I mean, at this point, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, right?
No, I don't think so. No.
But they're not going to stop.
No,
they're
there's a lot of money
Edelsons are
behind
very
it.
wealthy,
Yeah.
and they're very determined.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're not going to give up anytime soon, I don't think. So we'll see.
Well, see, and what blew my mind, I remember it was 2012 or 2010, I forget the exact year, but that's when, the stadium was built, I forget what year it opened, the Cowboys Stadium. Maybe it was 2010, but, shortly after they built that Texas Live because they wanted that to be a DraftKings back when Jerry Jones was really involved with DraftKings. And Jerry couldn't get it done, then I don't know if anybody can get it done.
Are we on a first-name basis now?
What, Jerry Jones?
Oh.
What?
I thought you'd call him like Mr. Jones or something.
No. I
Who
don't
calls
know
Jerry Jones
Jerry.
Mr.
Jerry.
Jones?
No, I
Jerry.
call him Jerry.
I say Jerry.
I'm just hanging out with Jer.
Well, you know what I mean. I'm such a diehard Cowboys fan. That's my other complaint. This is the other problem in our city, Monty, and I'm not even kidding. Sorry to point at you. This would solve so many of our problems, and you think I'm kidding, if the Dallas Cowboys could win a Super Bowl. Because you were here in Dallas when you remember the energy?
Absolutely.
And then whether you like football or not, you go to the gas station, people are in a better mood.
At the gas station, right.
It's true.
Seriously, people are like, oh, the Cowboys, you read the newspaper, even though stories around it. If the damn Dallas Cowboys could win, it's been 30 years.
We need we need like a counseling session here.
I mean,
There's so much residual
Don't you
anger.
remember how he opened the entire thing at the state ledge? He was like, some people will say that I'm anti-LGBTQ. And then like, but I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. And I was like, yes, because they're just not.
No, they're the worst run team. And Jerry, and this is the other thing is, my complaint. I hope Monty's not good friends with Jerry, but I listen. The Jones family, they're great, but they're not good at running a football team. As soon
I
as
think
Jimmy,
everyone would agree with that.
As soon as Jimmy Johnson left, it's like, Jerry, you were a Spengali of your first 10 years or 5 years, then all of a sudden we haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. So, they need to maybe hire somebody to run the team.
You'd think.
Yeah, you'd think.
You'd think,
That's
right?
a 30
Shannon's
year.
over there like,
At some
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
you'd think. Right.
Well, you guys, this has been very entertaining. I was expecting a little more shock value, but this has been good.
Are you kidding? I'm going to come in here on your podcast and we want me to break the set?
But
No, I don't wanna do that at all,
this
no.
is good. I
Just
was
say
glad that
that'd
we
be
even
great.
kind of took that little deviation towards over the supernatural and faith space because I was not expecting that. But
that's the most interesting stuff to me too. Is
Yeah.
like you talked about the Nephilim, Book of Enoch. There's a lot of stuff, information out there that it sounds a little like I say woo woo and weird, but just look into it. There's people that have been practicing stuff a lot longer than us, and
Well, everything
It's
does
true.
until they say, "Oh yeah, beneath the pyramids, by the way, there's a 2-kilometer structure underneath there that's been there 2,000 years." Like, what?
Yep.
How's this
Yeah.
even possible?
Yep.
Or my
and
fa-
then you just flip the news and you just keep on going, right?
Yeah.
So everything's strange until it's not.
Yep.
And there's been so much stuff too. In Turkey, there's this thing Göbekli Tepe, and there's this new thing, and they say that maybe that was where Noah's Ark landed because there's it's the oldest.
read that.
You look into it; it's very interesting. The guy Jimmy Corsetti does a lot of good work on it. And he's a pyramid expert. He goes to Egypt, and the oldest church, Göbekli Tepe, and there's a shrine to the animals, to these animals that they would sacrifice, and they say that maybe those are the animals from Noah's Ark. And this sounds crazy too. There was definitely a big flood at some point on
Oh,
Earth. They call it Ice
absolutely.
Age.
So much evidence of
Yeah,
that.
so.
And Göbekli Tepe, right?
Yeah,
Tepe.
Tepe. Yeah.
It's like 22,000 years old.
That
They said,
makes
right.
sense. It changes the whole narrative.
yeah,
of
they say,
history.
wait a minute, people weren't supposed to be able to build temples back then. And that's what science is, right? They're so sure of something, so sure of something. And then when they say, oh, well, did we say that forever? Sorry, we didn't mean that. This is the real story.
Just
But then
like
if you
on
try to
Tucker's-
challenge it,
Yes.
in the meantime, oh, you're a heretic, you're so stupid,
Yeah.
you don't know anything.
the Shroud of Turin, just
Yeah.
on the Tucker show recently.
Yeah, that's right. The Shroud of Turin. Oh, it came from the 1200s, 1300s. Therefore, it's not real.
Yeah.
And now the guy comes out and he's got this whole thing he did on Tucker. I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
Oh, no,
yeah.
they took a patch of the corner. That's why it's 1300.
That's right.
Here's all the evidence why.
Did you watch it?
it
Yeah,
came from
but
it.
this is my favorite thing, though. Oh, of course, that was a great interview. But this is my favorite thing, though, or not my favorite thing. This is what makes me so mad is that they say that we evolved from monkeys, but we have no transitional species.
That's
You
right.
think there'd be millions of fossils of our transitional species? So, God created us. I have no doubt in my mind about that.
What was that
Yeah.
guy's name? Jeremiah Johnson or Jedediah?
I think it was Jedediah.
Jedediah?
That was on the Tucker show.
Jedediah.
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 Johnson. That's kind of a cool name, isn't it? Sounds like he hung out with Davy Crockett, right?
Yeah,
And he
like
was on
his-
the Wild Frontier. Jedediah Johnson.
Jedediah with a
Yeah,
straw.
I mean, it was interesting, and I've known for years that I had the same blood type as Jesus, because it was the same as what was on the shroud. But I just appreciate y'all coming on. There's lots that I didn't get to, but I think we have some good stuff. Thank you.
Well, have me back anytime. We can get into it. I really appreciate you having me on.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Great having you on the show. Great being on the show. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
You do an outstanding job on the show, love. People,
I was quiet a lot because I think I have 2 additional interviewers with me here today.
You do.
People tell me all the time how much they love your show, love. And I love it.
you.
It's
And
fantastic.
a beautiful set. And I'm telling you, I appreciate you. I mean that. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you.